Hello friends. What happens when the dreamiest sign in the zodiac, Pisces, is born under the year of the horse, an animal known for freedom, speed, and unrelenting drive? You get a person who is equal parts mystic and maverick, a soul that feels deeply but is rarely still, someone who seeks both peace and purpose but refuses to be caged. Let's dive into the fascinating, poetic, and often paradoxical character of Pisces born in the year of the horse, a unique hybrid of fantasy and fire. Love. The ocean runs deep, but the wind must blow. Love for a Pisces horse is a symphony of contradictions, tender yet wild, grounding yet ungraspable. These are not people who fall in love conventionally or cautiously. They dive, headfirst, deep. They don't just love, you become a part of their inner universe. A soul-colored character in their dreamscape. But what makes this particular zodiac combination so fascinating is how they balance spiritual intimacy with untamed independence. To them, love is both a sacred home and a wide-open field. One moment, they want to melt into your arms like moonlight on water. The next, they feel the urgent need to disappear into solitude or wander unfamiliar streets alone, just to feel alive again. Pisces, ruled by Neptune, brings to this pairing the romanticism of fairy tales. They see relationships not as emotional contracts but as cosmic alignments. The year of the horse, on the other hand, injects adrenaline into the heart. Freedom becomes a lifeblood. This isn't a coupley, clingy kind of love. This is love as art. Love as flight. They will pour oceans of feeling into you, but you must never try to anchor them. In fact, the moment you start trying to define or confine them, they will buck like a wild stallion in an open field. In relationships, they can be mesmerizing. They write with their hearts. They remember your favorite song, the way your eyes looked at 3 a.m., that thing you said once that made them believe in love again. They'll say things that sound like lines from a novel, and mean every word. And it's not an act. They are deeply emotional creatures who experience love on a spectrum most people can't even conceptualize. But here's the caveat. Their emotional depth is matched by their need for unpredictability. They need variety, not necessarily in partners, but in emotional and sensory experience. Stagnation in love is the beginning of the end for them. They must feel like they are evolving alongside you, or the connection starts to dissolve quietly in the background. That's why relationships with Pisces horses are often filled with incredible highs and mysterious lulls. One day you're wrapped up in each other's auras, sharing secrets in a rainstorm, and the next, they may seem distant or unavailable. Not because they love you less, but because they're off recharging their soul in solitude. This rhythm is natural for them. Love is not a fixed state, but a current they ride. To stay with them, you must learn to ride it, too. Winning the heart of a Pisces horse requires more than charisma or good looks. It demands soul resonance. They are drawn to authenticity, to people who know themselves and live from the inside out. Pretension turns them off instantly. They see through shallow games like glass. What attracts them most is someone who can meet their emotional intensity without trying to box it in. Someone who understands that, forever, with them isn't a chain, it's an open road you walk together, step by step, even if sometimes from opposite sides. Their ideal partners are fellow seekers. Emotionally fluent, intellectually curious, spiritually awake. Water signs like Cancer and Scorpio naturally align with their emotional sensitivity, offering them depth and loyalty. Meanwhile, air signs like Gemini and Libra speak to their desire for space, dialogue, and movement. These connections allow them to fully express both sides of their nature. The empath who wants to melt into your soul, and the wanderer who needs to follow the wind now and then to remember who they are. Ultimately, loving a Pisces horse means choosing a path that isn't always linear. It means understanding that their commitment doesn't always look like traditional commitment. It's poetry, not prose. It's music, not a metronome. But if you can flow with their tides and ride their rhythms, the reward is profound. You won't just have a lover, you'll have a partner who opens your heart to dimensions of feeling and beauty you never knew existed. Sex. Dreamlike intensity meets wild instinct. Let's pull back the curtain on what truly makes intimacy with a Pisces born in the year of the horse such an unforgettable, otherworldly experience. To say they're passionate doesn't even come close, they are transcendent. These are not people who just have sex. They create worlds with you. They blur the line between the physical and the metaphysical, turning a single night into a memory that echoes for weeks. Sex to them is not a recreational activity, it's a portal. It's sacred, and when it's done right, it becomes a kind of worship, a ritual of surrender and discovery. This begins with their Piscean nature, imaginative, deeply empathetic, and highly tuned into nuance. They're the lovers who want to feel every breath, every heartbeat, every shift in energy. They're the ones who light candles not just for ambiance, but to honor the space, to turn the bedroom into a dreamscape. With them, foreplay doesn't start in the sheets, it starts in the soul. A lingering glance, a shared silence, the way you exhale when you're around them, they notice it all. Their sensuality is deeply layered, built on the language of energy and unspoken desire. The atmosphere matters, so do the emotions behind every touch. They want it to mean something, even when it's spontaneous. But make no mistake, the horse changes everything. Just when you think they're all soft skin and sweet sighs, they flip the switch. Horse energy brings a raw, impulsive streak to their erotic nature. They don't just want to feel anymore, they want to explore. They want movement, power, surprise. The same person who was just stroking your hair like a lullaby is now grabbing your hand and leading you to try something exhilarating, possibly on a rooftop, possibly in the middle of nowhere. This dynamic energy keeps them thrillingly unpredictable. They might initiate slow, meditative intimacy one night and wild, adrenaline-soaked passion the next. They are endlessly curious about bodies, sensations, and emotional reactions. Their sexual creativity is fueled by both fantasy and freedom. They enjoy role play, sensual environments, philosophical conversations that morph into arousal, and experimenting with new forms of connection, both physical and psychological. And while they may not need an endless rotation of partners, Pisces craves emotional loyalty, they absolutely need variety in how that love is expressed. Emotional monotony kills their desire faster than anything. But the key here, what truly sets them apart, is that their turn-on is rooted in emotion. They can't fake it. If they don't feel something genuine, no amount of physical attraction can compensate. This makes their sexuality intensely authentic. They need vulnerability, trust, intrigue, and a sense of being spiritually seen. Without that, even the most acrobatic performance will feel hollow to them. But once they do feel that connection, they'll open up in ways that are generous, imaginative, and deeply giving. What turns them off? Predictability. If sex becomes a chore or just another item on the schedule, they'll lose interest, quietly, and then completely. They don't want to feel like they're clocking in to do emotional labor for a partner who stopped trying. They need the dance, the energy, the sense of continuous discovery. They want to feel like every time is the first time, different, intimate, and emotionally charged. The ideal lover for a Pisces horse isn't just sexually confident. They're emotionally articulate, adventurous in spirit, and creatively open-minded. They understand that sex isn't just physical friction, but a living story, one that evolves and deepens with every shared breath. The perfect partner is someone who doesn't just do the job, but brings wonder to it. Someone who listens, plays, pushes, and honors the sacred side of pleasure. Because for a Pisces horse, sex is art. It's symphony and chaos, softness and intensity. It's soul-to-skin alchemy. And once you experience it, regular intimacy will never feel the same again. Marriage, the paradox of commitment and freedom. Marriage for a Pisces born in the year of the horse is not a simple institution, it's a profound, ever-evolving experience. For them, the idea of marriage can feel both magnetic and terrifying, often at the same time. They yearn for that deep, soulful connection with one person, the kind of love that feels like destiny, like poetry made real. They dream of a partner who doesn't just love them, but understands them on an intuitive level. Someone who can see through their moods, their silences, and their endless daydreams, and still say, "Yes, I choose you." Yet, at the very same time, the idea of being tied down in the conventional sense sends ripples of restlessness through their core. The Pisces side longs for emotional fusion. They want to lose themselves in a partner, to feel safe, seen, held. They envision marriage as a shared world, an emotional haven where both souls can flourish. But the horse in them, wild, instinctual, endlessly curious, fears any cage, even one made of love. Traditional roles, rigid expectations, and fixed routines feel suffocating to them. They can't live inside someone else's version of what marriage should be. They must co-create their own version, one that feels like freedom and intimacy, not control and compromise. This doesn't mean they avoid commitment. Quite the opposite. When they find the right person, the one who gives them both emotional sanctuary and personal space, they commit with their entire being. It's not a casual choice, it's a soul-level decision. But they do so on their terms. They'll redefine what marriage means, shaping it around shared values, not social templates. For them, real partnership means walking side by side, both individuals growing on their own paths, yet continually choosing to walk those paths together. They believe in growth, not ownership. They want a partner who inspires them to evolve, not one who simply wants to settle into routines. To thrive in a long-term union, a Pisces-Horse must feel emotionally safe and spiritually free. Their ideal spouse is someone who can hold space for both silence and speech, both closeness and distance. Someone who doesn't flinch when they disappear into their imagination for days or wander off into a new creative obsession. These marriages thrive when there's deep trust, mutual respect, and a shared reverence for individuality. The moment things turn transactional, when love becomes a checklist of duties, they begin to mentally and emotionally withdraw. Their version of marital intimacy is not built on structure but on flow. They're not the couple who has dinner at 7 p.m. every night. They're the couple who dances in the kitchen at midnight or spontaneously plans a road trip after a long week. They don't do performative love, they do real love. Messy, poetic, nonlinear. They express devotion through emotional honesty, support in creative pursuits, and unexpected tenderness. You may not always know where they are emotionally, but you'll always know they feel deeply. When it comes to conflict, they're more sensitive than they let on. The horse part may hide behind sarcasm or withdrawal, while Pisces may drown in feelings they don't yet know how to express. Communication in marriage must be gentle, patient, and emotionally literate. Yelling and ultimatums won't work, they'll either shut down or run. What brings them back? Vulnerability. A partner who says, "I don't want to fight, I want to understand." That kind of emotional language is their oxygen. As parents, they are nothing short of magical. Traditional parenting manuals go out the window. Instead, they lead with empathy, creativity, and deep emotional intuition. They raise children not to follow rules blindly, but to feel their way through life. They're the ones who'll stay up all night helping their child build a cardboard castle or ask them big questions about the stars and the soul. Discipline might not be their strongest suit, they'll struggle with enforcing rules consistently, but they will more than make up for it with emotional intelligence, playfulness, and a fierce protective instinct when it matters most. Ultimately, a Pisces-Horse in marriage is not looking for a contract. They're looking for a co-conspirator in love. Someone who will explore life with them, question reality with them, and dance through both the darkness and the beauty. They don't want perfection, they want presence. They want a partner who listens with their whole heart, touches with intention, and believes, as they do, that love is a living, breathing thing, not a destination, but a journey. And if you can offer that, you'll never have a more loyal, more enchanting, more soul-altering companion in this lifetime. Friendship. The mystic nomad among us. Friendship with a Pisces born in the year of the horse is a wild and wondrous ride. They are the rare type of friend who shows up when your world feels like it's falling apart, not with solutions, but with presence. With empathy, with stillness. They might not text you every day or remember your birthday on time, but when you're unraveling at 2 a.m., they'll be the first to send a message that reads, "I felt you." Their friendship is not defined by social rituals or regular check-ins. It's defined by connection, a deep, intuitive, almost psychic link that makes you feel known, even in your darkest moments. They don't just see you, they feel you. Pisces horses don't thrive in traditional social dynamics. They find small talk exhausting and routine interactions uninspiring. You won't often find them at crowded brunches or loud parties, unless there's a piano in the corner and a deep conversation unfolding nearby. Instead, they seek meaning. They crave soul-to-soul exchanges. They gravitate toward people with layered emotions, creative minds, or wounded hearts. To them, friendship is not about proximity or quantity, it's about quality and depth. They are the midnight philosophers, the friends who will stay up with you discussing dreams, fears, the universe, and all the things you're afraid to say out loud. There is something ethereal and unforgettable about their presence. Even when they drift in and out of your life, you'll find yourself recalling things they said, odd, profound, or poetic phrases that stay lodged in your memory like verses. Their friendships often transcend time. You might not speak for months, and yet when they return, the bond feels untouched by distance. That's because when they connect with someone, they do it with all their heart, all their intuition, all their spiritual awareness. They don't half friend. It's either cosmic alignment or a polite goodbye. Their social style is fluid. Pisces energy makes them gentle, dreamy, and empathetic, while the horse influence adds an unpredictable, nomadic flavor. They float in and out of social groups like smoke, never quite settling, but always leaving an impression. People are drawn to them without fully understanding why. Misfits, artists, thinkers, healers, and wanderers naturally gather around them, sensing that they won't be judged or boxed in. In their presence, others feel safe to be their full, strange, vulnerable selves. That's the Pisces magic. They make you feel like even your chaos has beauty. But the horse adds something else, motion. They won't stay still for long. They move through people and places in search of energy that feels alive. Still, for all their magnetism, Pisces horses often carry a sense of inner distance. Even in a crowded room, a part of them remains outside the moment, observing, absorbing, processing. They are not the open book friend who lays everything out in one sitting. They share in layers. Their trust takes time, and their loyalty runs deep, but they are not immediately accessible. You have to earn them. And once you do, you'll find that they are some of the most emotionally intelligent, spiritually grounding friends you'll ever have. Their intolerance for superficiality is strong. They simply can't sustain fake friendships, nor do they pretend to enjoy empty interactions. They'll smile politely, but inside they're drifting to another plane of thought. If the energy feels off or the conversation lacks authenticity, they'll quietly retreat. They value transparency, depth, and raw truth in the people they let into their inner world. When they say, "I see you," they mean it, and they expect to be seen in return. Shallow friendships not only bore them, they hurt them, because they crave real connection so intensely. But the beauty of being their friend is this: when you give them realness, they give you magic. They'll remember the way your voice sounded when you were happy. They'll write you letters when you're lost. They'll send you songs that feel like your soul set to music. They'll support your weirdest dreams without a second thought. And even if they disappear for a while, into their work, their solitude, or some unplanned road trip, they'll always return when it matters. You just have to understand that their loyalty is not loud or routine. It's subtle, powerful, and soul-bonded. To be friends with a Pisces horse is to enter a space where love is felt more than said, where conversations feel like revelations, and where connection flows like water, sometimes still, sometimes rushing, but always deeply real. If you can embrace their rhythm, honor their silence, and cherish their heart, you'll have a friend who shows you not just who you are, but who you could become. Business. Visionaries with fire in their veins. Business, for a Pisces born in the year of the horse, is not about climbing a corporate ladder, it's about creating ladders where none existed. They are visionaries in the purest sense of the word, operating at the intersection of imagination and instinct. These individuals are driven less by profits and more by purpose. They don't just want to build a business, they want to build something meaningful, beautiful, or revolutionary. They want to feel emotionally moved by what they're doing, or they simply can't sustain interest. This makes them natural disruptors, intuitive innovators, and soulful strategists, but also, at times, their own biggest obstacle. Pisces energy gifts them with imagination that borders on genius. They see things others don't, possibilities, patterns, feelings in the room. They can walk into a business meeting and sense the undercurrent no one's addressing. They might dream of a product before it exists or have a vision for a company that feels like it came from another dimension. Their ideas are often emotionally charged and deeply human, which makes their ventures compelling and emotionally resonant. But ideas are just the beginning. Enter the horse. That's where the fire comes in. Horse energy gives them drive, speed, and a bit of chaos. They don't want to sit still, make endless plans, or overanalyze, they want to move. To start. To sprint toward the vision while it's still burning hot in their mind. This combination makes them especially well suited for creative and unconventional industries, fields where originality and passion are assets, not liabilities. You'll often find Pisces horses thriving in music, design, filmmaking, writing, healing arts, tech startups with a cause, or ventures involving travel, innovation, and storytelling. Their ideal work allows for emotional expression, visionary thinking, and the freedom to move between roles or projects. They're not meant to be confined to a cubicle. They need autonomy and stimulation to keep their creative and entrepreneurial spirits alive. A job that lets them blend artistry with action is where they'll soar. But with brilliance comes volatility. The same traits that make them visionary can also make them erratic. The Pisces influence tends to drift, getting caught up in big ideas, abstract ideals, or emotional currents that lead them away from practical execution. The horse, on the other hand, gallops full speed toward novelty, often abandoning one project in favor of another before the first has even reached the finish line. This can create a cycle of burnout, incompletion, or career hopping that leaves their potential scattered across 1,000 brilliant beginnings. Their biggest professional challenge is consistency, staying with something long enough to build it into lasting success. To overcome this, Pisces horses need grounding strategies. This can look different for each individual, but common solutions include working with a practical, detail-oriented partner, establishing a creative routine with built-in flexibility, or finding systems that let them automate the boring parts of their work so they can focus on the magic. They often thrive in partnerships where one person handles logistics and the other handles vision, because once their energy is channeled properly, there's almost no limit to what they can achieve. They're not great at structure on their own, but they can respect structure when it feels aligned with their purpose. When it comes to leadership, Pisces horses don't follow a typical model. They're not the iron-fisted, spreadsheet-wielding manager. They're the magnetic, slightly eccentric creative lead who inspires people to go beyond the job description. They lead through intuition, passion, and emotional resonance. They remember their employees' birthdays, tell stories in meetings, and create workspaces where people feel. Their teams are often diverse and unconventional, artists, outliers, thinkers, and they manage best when they trust the people around them and allow ideas to flow freely. They may, however, struggle with boundaries or confrontation in leadership. Pisces can be too empathetic, absorbing everyone's stress. Horse may respond to conflict by running, not addressing it head-on. As leaders, they grow when they learn to navigate feedback, set clear expectations, and delegate without micromanaging. The good news is, once they find their rhythm, they create company cultures that are emotionally rich, creatively alive, and remarkably loyal. People don't just work for Pisces horses, they believe in them. Their relationship with money is also worth noting. Pisces horses are not driven by wealth for its own sake. They want financial freedom, yes, but mainly so they can live on their terms, explore new passions, and support meaningful causes. They're not greedy, but they are ambitious. Their success often comes from doing what they love so well that others are magnetically drawn to it. Think, building an eco-friendly design studio that also funds ocean conservation. Launching a mindfulness app with cinematic beauty. Writing a novel that becomes a movement. Their wealth is a byproduct of their authenticity, not the goal. In the end, a Pisces horse in business is a fire-lit dreamer with the courage to chase the intangible and make it real. They bring soul into commerce, creativity into chaos, and emotion into innovation. Give them the freedom to dream and the tools to build, and you won't just see a successful entrepreneur, you'll witness the birth of a movement. Dark sides. Escape artists of the soul. Every great light casts a shadow, and the Pisces horse, an archetype so rich in sensitivity, creativity, and passion, has its darkness. These individuals carry within them a dual force that can either elevate them to visionary heights or drag them into invisible spirals of self-sabotage. Their shadows aren't always obvious, they wear masks well. But underneath the magnetic charm and intuitive warmth lies a delicate, volatile terrain, one where emotions flood too fast, ideals burn too bright, and reality can feel unbearably sharp. When life becomes too rigid, too mundane, or too painful, their instinct isn't to fight, it's to flee. And the forms that flight takes can be both subtle and destructive. At their core, Pisces horses are hypersensitive to the world around them. They absorb pain like a sponge, emotional, spiritual, and even physical. The cruelty, injustice, and banality of the world wounds them in ways they often can't explain. So when reality becomes too heavy, their first defense is retreat. Not necessarily from people or responsibilities, but from the emotional weight of existence. This is where escapism becomes a coping mechanism. They may disappear into long, immersive daydreams, where the world is kinder, softer, more aligned with their vision. Or they may binge-watch, overwork, isolate, or seek refuge in substance use, spiritual bypassing, or obsessive fantasy. They aren't running away from life, they're trying to run toward a version of it that hurts less. This is not a conscious betrayal of responsibility, it's a cry for space, for emotional breathing room. However, the more they avoid confronting what's real, the more the real world turns into a source of dread. Deadlines get missed, relationships grow strained, creative projects get abandoned mid-flight. Their ability to start something with fire doesn't always come with the stamina to finish it. When this avoidance compounds over time, it can leave a trail of emotional debts, missed opportunities, and internal shame they struggle to name. Emotional overload is another critical shadow. Pisces feels everything, and Horse acts on impulse. This combination can lead to inner chaos when feelings become too intense. Rather than process the wave, they may shut down or lash out unpredictably. Their moods can be mercurial, sweet and soulful one moment, distant or cold the next. They may retreat without explanation, going ghost for days or weeks, not to hurt anyone but simply because they feel too raw to speak. The weight of unexpressed emotion often explodes eventually, sometimes in self-destructive ways. A sudden decision to quit a job, cut ties, or flee a situation that might have been healed with honest conversation. One of the subtler dark traits is manipulation, not in the calculated sense, but in the emotional. Pisces horses are deeply charismatic, and they instinctively know how to read people. When wounded or feeling unseen, they may resort to passive-aggressive behavior, indirect communication, or emotional withdrawal to punish without confrontation. They may say yes and mean no, promise everything and deliver nothing, not from malice, but from fear of disappointing others or facing judgment. The horse's desire for independence collides with Pisces' desire to be loved and accepted, leading them to behave in contradictory ways that leave others confused or hurt. There's also a tendency toward martyrdom. They may silently suffer, hoping someone will notice and rescue them. They may feel unappreciated and act out emotionally without ever articulating what they need. In this space, they become the misunderstood artist, the tortured soul, the lover who loves too much and is never loved quite enough. This mindset, left unchecked, can calcify into victimhood, an identity that keeps them from growing because it feels safer than risking rejection or failure. And yet, here's the paradox. When Pisces horses choose to face their shadows head-on, something extraordinary happens. They don't just survive their darkness, they transform through it. They begin to channel that pain, that chaos, that overwhelming empathy into healing for themselves and for others. They become powerful creators, gifted counselors, intuitive leaders. The same sensitivity that once crushed them becomes a source of wisdom. The same desire to run becomes a yearning to return, to themselves, to their truth, to their inner strength. Shadow integration is the key. When they stop seeing their emotional complexity as a weakness and start seeing it as a superpower, they unlock a version of themselves that is whole, steady, and radiantly authentic. They learn to set boundaries without guilt. They recognize when they're dissociating and gently bring themselves back. They begin to understand that discomfort is not always danger, and that facing hard things doesn't mean losing their freedom. It means owning it. In truth, the Pisces horse doesn't need to be saved from their darkness. They need to be trusted to walk through it. Because when they do, they emerge as some of the most emotionally rich, spiritually aware, and fiercely compassionate people in existence. Not despite their struggles, but because of how deeply they've lived through them. Life goals: to feel, to create, to be free. What fuels the soul of a Pisces born in the year of the horse? Not fame, not trophies, not checking boxes on a societal scorecard. For them, life isn't a race to win, it's a canvas to paint, a mystery to unravel, a story to feel. Their goals are rarely conventional because they themselves are anything but. Their inner compass doesn't point toward the nearest promotion or paycheck. It points inward, toward emotion, intuition, experience, and the kind of beauty that can't be measured in spreadsheets or resumes. These are the seekers, the wanderers, the poetic revolutionaries of the Zodiac, those who are more interested in why we're alive than in how many likes they can get for it. At the heart of the Pisces-Horse's ambition is a relentless desire for meaning. They are not content simply existing, they want to understand, to connect, to evolve. They're fascinated by human behavior, emotions, and the invisible threads that connect everything. They may spend years searching for a calling that feels truly aligned with their soul, but once they find it, they pursue it with passion and obsession. For some, it might be creating breathtaking art that makes people feel. For others, it could be healing others through energy work, teaching, or emotional storytelling. What matters most is authenticity. If it doesn't light up their spirit or stir their emotions, they simply won't pursue it, no matter how practical or lucrative it might be. Freedom, both internal and external, is a non-negotiable for them. This is the driving force behind nearly every goal they set. They don't want to be boxed in, not by jobs, relationships, cities, or even their own past. Routine and structure, while necessary at times, must bend to the rhythm of their creativity and energy. They dream of lives where they can create their own hours, explore different cultures, or start new ventures whenever inspiration strikes. This craving for freedom doesn't come from irresponsibility, it comes from an unrelenting need to feel alive. They want to taste everything, explore the full spectrum of human experience, and leave no emotion or idea untouched. They are eternal students of life. Their ambition often arrives in waves. The Pisces side brings fog and fluidity, goals shift, dreams evolve, clarity comes and goes like the tides. The horse, in contrast, is all action, momentum, and hunger. This creates a fascinating inner tension. One moment they're meditating in silence, the next they're launching a new creative business. They may begin a dozen projects, follow 5 different dreams, or move across the world without a 5-year plan. And that's okay. It's all part of the process. Their journey doesn't follow a straight line, it spirals, circles, detours, and expands. The challenge is learning not to see this as failure, but as the necessary shape of their soul's exploration. But when their heart aligns with purpose, when emotion meets action, and vision meets momentum, they become unstoppable. They pour every ounce of their being into the dream. It's not half-hearted. It's immersive, consuming, beautiful. Whether it's writing a novel that cracks open the human experience, designing a retreat center that heals souls, producing a podcast that changes how people think, or crafting a piece of music that brings someone to tears, when a Pisces horse believes in the mission, they show up with extraordinary depth and determination. They don't just work, they live their work. Their goals often have a ripple effect on others. They don't just want to succeed, they want to inspire. They want to heal. There is often a quiet humanitarianism at the center of their ambitions. It's not about charity for charity's sake, it's about connection, empathy, making a difference not with noise but with truth. Their careers might be unconventional, their timelines unpredictable, but their impact is deeply felt by those lucky enough to cross their path. They also have a strong spiritual thread running through their goals. This doesn't always mean religion, it could be art, nature, mindfulness, or philosophy. But they need to feel connected to something bigger than themselves. They seek experiences that feed the soul, climbing sacred mountains, exploring ancient ruins, floating in the ocean under a full moon. They gather stories from the world and weave them into their own. Every goal they pursue is ultimately in service of that deeper quest, to find home, not in a house, but in a state of being. To outsiders, their path might seem chaotic, idealistic, or unfocused. But to the Pisces horse, every twist and turn has meaning. They're not chasing a finish line. They're following the fire of what if, of what's next, of who am I becoming. And in doing so, they live a life that many only dream of, one filled with passion, evolution, and the kind of freedom that comes from truly knowing yourself. So if you ask them what their life goals are, don't expect a 5-year plan. expect a story, expect a dream, expect a vision soaked in color, emotion, movement, and soul. Because they're not here to merely survive. They're here to feel, to create, and above all, to be free. Final thought. Pisces born in the year of the horse are living contradictions in the most beautiful sense. They exist as if torn between two worlds, one beneath the surface, full of feeling, intuition, and soft, sacred knowing, and the other fast-moving, passionate, unpredictable, and fiercely free. They are both water and wildfire, both soul and storm. To meet one is to meet someone who seems like a walking paradox, delicate yet daring, vulnerable yet untouchable, grounded in empathy yet perpetually reaching for the next unexplored horizon. Their essence is not built for straight lines or easy labels. They are dreamers who don't just sit still and dream, they leap into the unknown to chase the very visions that visit them in silence. At their core, they carry an emotional intensity that can shake you awake. They feel things most people spend their lives avoiding: love, loss, longing, joy, the rawness of it all. They don't just skim the surface of experience. They dive headfirst, sometimes recklessly, into the depths of human emotion, because that's where life becomes real to them. Every relationship, every piece of art, every place they visit becomes part of their internal mosaic. This is a person who will remember your favorite childhood memory just by the way your eyes flicker. Who will write you into their poetry without even telling you. Who will ache over a stranger's pain and be unable to explain why. Yet for all that emotion, they are not fragile. The horse gives them fire, willpower, motion. When they want something, really want it, they pursue it with ferocity. But they don't chase for ego or glory. They chase for meaning, for alignment, for the sense of aliveness that only comes when soul and purpose collide. When they move, it's not random, it's instinctual. They are guided by something older, something deeper than logic. This makes them appear impulsive, sometimes difficult to follow, but that's only because they're not following maps made by others. They are writing their own. To love a Pisces horse is to accept a kind of beautiful uncertainty. They are not the partner who fits into a tidy box of expectations. They will love you fiercely, then need to disappear for a weekend to reconnect with themselves. They'll surprise you with handwritten notes, then forget to answer a text for 2 days while lost in a creative flow. But their love, when real, is deeply sacred. It's layered, it's alive, it doesn't perform, it feels. They offer love that is fluid, intuitive, and transformative, but only to those who respect its wild, unstructured form. To be a Pisces horse is to live with both blessing and burden. Their emotions can be overwhelming. Their dreams can feel too big for this world. They may battle with inconsistency, self-doubt, or the urge to run when things get too real. But they are not broken, they are simply tuned into a frequency that most people never hear. And once they learn to honor that sensitivity, to structure their chaos just enough to create from it, they become alchemists. Visionaries. People who make the world feel a little more magical just by existing in it. They don't live halfway. They don't love halfway. They don't feel halfway. Everything is full spectrum, full-hearted, and full speed, until it isn't, and they need to rest, recharge, and reconnect with their inner compass. But when they rise again, they do so with something new, a story, a vision, a truth that only they could bring back from the emotional underworld. So no, they were never meant to be ordinary. They were built for more than that. They are here to leave behind a trail of feeling, beauty, fire, and freedom. A legacy not written in stone, but in the lives they've touched and the hearts they've awakened. You don't forget a Pisces horse. They live like a poem you can't stop rereading. Like a melody that stays in your head long after the music fades. Like wind across water, impossible to hold, but impossible not to feel.